So Stephen A. Smith is somebody that we've heard him be almost positive about Bronny James. Like, we've heard him originally talk about Bronny James like he's an NBA player. And I think a lot of the media did initially. But before we get on to the main part of this video, we are trying to hit 5,000 subscribers by the end of the month. And if we could somehow hit 4.2k by the end of the day, it would be insane. We are only 44 subscribers off. And we upload more NBA and basketball related content than anywhere else. Like, they wanted to believe. And look, I kind of got caught up in it at times. And my logic always was that Bronny James has never looked out of place on the floor up until the NBA. And I underestimated how big the talent gap was between the NBA and like college. And look, you can call me out on it if you look back at my Mick Talks Hoops thing. My logic was that I was like, he never deserved to be an All-American, but he looked fine in the All-American game. He didn't deserve to go to USC, but he looked fine. He didn't look out of place with USC. He looked bad, but he didn't look out of place. And I was like, if Bronny even just looks bad in the NBA, it's not the end of the world. The problem is that Bronny James doesn't look bad in the NBA or in the G League. He looks incapable of playing at that level. And that's where the problem is when it comes to Bronny James. It's not that he's a bad player, I guess. It's that he just looks like he doesn't belong. And that's where the issue is. And now we've got Stephen A. Smith even coming out about Bronny James, and this is what he has said. This is not a great look.
What do you think happens for his kid once he's out? Like, do you think they're kind of doing this as a favor?
But first of all, there's no question.
Yeah.
Like, the fact is that they were like, do you think he's doing it as a favor? And he stops and is like, yes, obviously this is a favor. And that's a horrible look. Like, that is, when you're Stephen A. Smith, especially with the amount of people that Stephen A. Smith are, for him to admit that, and like, not that he's like, for example, 100% on the LeBron James hype train, but like, for someone at ESPN to basically just come out and effectively say, obviously he's just there because of his dad. Like, we all know it's the truth, but to hear it is not good. Like, it's not good to hear it directly from someone like a Stephen A. Somebody that, while obviously he's not the greatest basketball mind in the world, he's somebody that knows more behind the scenes than any of us do. And to hear it directly from him about Bronny is not a great look if you're Bronny or even LeBron. Like, I think, to be fair, I will always say this is a worse look for the Lakers than it is for Bronny James. Bronny James is being told what to do and he's just saying yes. At the end of the day, we can all say, oh, I wouldn't want to do this, I wouldn't want to do that, but none of us have ever been in the position to literally play in the NBA. I'd say every one of us has dreamed playing the NBA. And even if we didn't earn it, if we got offered to be on the floor, I think, like, we can't say, I think it would be, not naive, I think it would be lying to say most of us would say no. I think almost all of us would say yes. Like, let's be real.
Like, do you think they're kind of doing this as a favor?
But first of all, there's no question.
Yeah.
Let's cut the BS.
Sure.
There's no question there's a favor. Bronny James did not do what it took to earn a spot on an NBA roster. That's the bottom line.
What do you
Like, that is, and it's like, that's the bottom line. That might be, of all things, it's the truth. Like, we can be completely honest here about it all. Because at the end of the day, I'm not somebody that's being paid by ESPN. I'm not somebody that's being paid by, well, technically I am being paid by talking about whatever topics it is. And Bronny James just happens to be a relevant topic. For people that's saying he's not, trust me, like, he is the most relevant topic in the NBA right now. Especially because it's early in the regular season when nobody really cares about anything. People care coming up to the trade deadline, all-star break, free agency, playoffs. But right now, it's like the drama is the main story because basketball's, again, the games don't really mean anything. But that is one of the most, like, damning things anyone in the actual media. Like, this, not even, like, Ryan Clark's in the media. But Ryan Clark's not Stephen A. Ryan Clark is not somebody that is as big as Stephen A. And for Stephen A to say this, and Stephen A was a Bronny defender at one stage. He was a defender of the whole thing. And for this to be what's come out of his mouth, like, this is one of those damning things anyone has said about Bronny James.
Bronny James did not do what it took to earn a spot on an NBA roster. That's the bottom line.
Like, that.
What do you think happened?
That might be one of the worst things that was said. Like, exactly what fans and the app have been saying since day one. And we knew from day one. And now it's at the stage where it's so obvious. And I think that's why suddenly I think we're going to see Bronny James playing very few G League games. I think there was always, because he had that one game in preseason where he kind of got a little bit hot, there was always that, okay, maybe he's not good enough for the NBA, but, like, 55th picks, very few of them are good. I think going down to the G League and being completely exposed has really changed all the narratives. I think the whole part-time G League player, and the reason he's a part-time G League player is because they don't want him to be exposed. Like, as soon as they have a 4-game stretch in California, Bronny's miraculously injured. Where did he get injured? I don't know. I'm not going to question the validity of it, but it's convenient. It's a very convenient injury because the G League team have 4 games in a row in Cali. So he's not going to play them. And we've seen him be one of the worst players in the entire G League. Bronny James, we all know that Bronny James didn't earn it. And again, in life, so many people have got jobs that we didn't technically earn. There are people watching this video that got jobs based on nepotism that they didn't earn. The reality is that it happens always in life. And if you were the recipient of one of them, it's not your fault. If you've gone into that job and worked as hard as you can at that job and have eventually became good at the job, then fair play. Doesn't really matter how you get your foot in the door at the end of the day, as long as you're able to do the work. The problem with Bronny James is that nepotism in the workplace becomes a huge problem when it's very, very obvious that the person who was hired is not capable of doing the job. Like, nobody has ever complained. Well, people will complain, but an awful lot of the time people won't complain for nepotism if the kid is really freaking good. Like, if Bronny James was as good as Scottie Pippen Jr., no one would complain. If Bronny James was as good as, let's just say hypothetically, Ron Harper coached a team in the NBA, Dylan Harper is getting drafted regardless. Like, Austin Rivers was getting drafted top 10 regardless of Doc. It made no difference. Like, Austin Rivers, even when Doc traded for him, Austin was still going to be an NBA player. Even if Doc didn't trade for him, people were like, oh, he'd be out of the league if it wasn't for Doc. Austin Rivers was he was in the league before Doc coached him. He was in the league for like 5 years after Doc coached him. Austin Rivers was going to be in the league no matter what. That's just revisionist history. The reality is that the day LeBron James retired, Bronny is done. And hearing Stephen A. Smith say that he did not earn it, like, that is one of the worst things I think we've heard. Because everything else, when you hear about, oh, this is what he should do for his development, this is what he should do, this is what he should do, even from Ryan Clark, like, outside of people that don't have any real impact, like, you've got people online that don't really have anyone to answer to saying some crazy stuff. Like, I'm just giving my basketball opinion, but like, we all know that there are 100 times more extreme people on the matter than me. But when I'm talking about Bronny, like, that he didn't earn it, we all kind of know that. But now it's gotten so bad that it can't be ignored. It can't be. And it's the reason why I'm talking about it. People are like, oh, you should just ignore it. No, it can't be. This situation will never happen again, by the way. It's going to be harder for former kids players to get into the NBA. Actually, you know what? It makes no odds. It made absolutely no odds beforehand. It's just because LeBron James is a current player. But I'm trying to think of situations where players have had kids that were old enough. Off the top of my head, I can't. I actually can't off the top of my head think of players who've had kids that were old enough. The problem is that Bronny James, like, from the day he set foot in Sierra Canyon, there was talk about LeBron playing with Bronny. Bronny wasn't good enough in Sierra Canyon. Bronny wasn't good enough in USC. Bronny still not good enough now. The moment happened, And now, because people have pushed him, the media, kept speaking on this, talking about it, it's now got to the stage where, okay, he got to the NBA, we have to pretend he's good enough, and now he went to the G League, and it's like, oh, he's not even good enough here. Yeah, the more we talk about Bronny James and talk about him earning things, we are blatantly lying through our teeth, and it's very obvious. So now we have to backtrack. And now you're going to be seeing the media be even more harsh on Bronny James than ever before. And I don't think they're going to be harsh on him. More harsh about the situation than ever before. Because again, I don't blame Bronny James for this. I don't. And all of us, everyone can be like, oh, if my dad offered this, we wouldn't take it. Like, bullshit. Bullshit. I'm sorry. If your dream is to play in the NBA, if you were a D1 athlete, even if you weren't good enough, and you got the opportunity to do that, you would definitely have in your head, especially because you've played an All-American game, even though you didn't earn it, you still were pretty okay on the day. You definitely would have in your head, you know what, I can do this. I'm going to give it a go. Every one of us would have said yes. So I'm not knocking the kid. I'm knocking the Lakers organization. And I'm not even knocking LeBron that much, because to be fair, he had a chance to make his kid's dream come true and he just did it. I'm knocking the entire Lakers organization, because there is no way LeBron was leaving LA, and there was no way any other team was going to take him unless they had a guarantee of LeBron going there. And once LeBron basically said, yeah, I'm not just going to go wherever Bronny is, we all knew. If Bronny had gone to Australia, I mean, he'd be coming off the bench and barely playing. It's the reality of it.